What you see behind me is the new Mercedes-Benz G-Class Adventure Edition. I'm Siddharth and we are watching a brief review of this legendary SUV on CarWale. You may have seen Vikrant pushing the G-Wagon to its limits in this year's CarWale Off-Road Day video. If not, I recommend you watch it, the link to which should pop up on the top right of your screen right now. As you can see, we put the G-Wagon through a series of tests to find out why it is held in such a high regard by off-roading enthusiasts worldwide. Now, it may be capable, but that high price tag means most of the G-Wagons on earth have never been taken off the tarmac. That high price tag also meant most of my colleagues steered clear of the G-Wagon for fear of damaging any of the many tough-looking but expensive parts on this SUV. And I proved to them why they should have steered clear of the G-Wagon. I promptly punctured the tire, and it was a 2-hour, 3-man job to get one tire replaced. While this profession has allowed me to drive SUVs off the road and go off the beaten path, I've never actively sought out these experiences outside of work. One can joke that some roads in India can give off-road courses like Pro Dirt a run for their money, but you get the idea, I'm no off-road junkie. So, a noob, an off-road park, and expensive machinery seems to be a recipe for disaster. Apart from the rather lengthy tire change procedure, the G-Wagon lived up to its legendary status in every test we put it through. And it did all of them like I would imagine an experienced chef would make a dish. There's little to no drama, but the job is done, and it is done beautifully. It was the quickest in our acceleration tests, which simulated a short run-up to a hill climb, which meant good traction, good power management and stability. Through our unconventional slalom test, it was composed but quick, and it managed to keep me dry in our Beaker test even though it had a solid rear axle, which I thought would make it a bunking bronco on our course. And it missed out on taking the top spot in the off-road course by just 1/100th of a second. We were all surprised that the Gloucester was the fastest in this test, the reasons for which will be explained by Pawan in his video. There is one thing, no, two actually, that ground my gears during this otherwise dominant display of the G-Wagon's capabilities. One, of course, was the tire changing procedure. Two is the noob unfriendliness of this SUV. I think there should have been dedicated off-road displays on at least one of the two digital screens, with some tips and control options to make things easier. This came to fore especially during the hill descent test. With no dedicated off-road mode, all my limited experience told me to do was press the low range mode and then let go of the brake pedal at the top of the hill. And I promptly became the passenger in the fastest SUV down that hill on that day. And that was because you had to set the transmission to manual mode and then select first gear so that the SUV would go slowly down the slope. But there was nothing on the screen that would tell me to do this. What you see on screen is the G-Wagon beautifully executing a power slide on Pro Dirt's flat track. We are thankful that we could get this shot during the golden hour, because earlier in the day we couldn't get the car to slide because the traction control couldn't be switched off completely. We could see that the drive modes included a desert mode, which is specially designed for dune bashing, but we couldn't select it. There is no prompt on the screen anywhere that you could select this desert mode, and what you had to do was to press the button for a couple of seconds more and select the desert mode. But again, there's no prompt on the screen. Now, my script prompt says I should tell you whether the G-Class Adventure Edition lived up to my expectations. Well, while it aced most of the tests that we threw at it, I know that we barely scratched the surface of its capabilities. I also think it needs way tougher off-road obstacles to truly demonstrate them and leave everyone even more awestruck. So while I'm happy that I got to drive the G-Wagon, I'm pretty underwhelmed also. So, are there any modifications that you should make to this off-roader which costs rupees 3 crores on the road? Well, I can think of 3. The first, you should replace the screw type hydraulic jack that the G-Class comes with and get a scissor type jack, maybe one from the Defender, which has a convenient rotating mechanism to make lifting the car a much easier process. Second, invest in yourself. Read the owner's manual of the G-Wagon to understand all the features and capabilities of this SUV, because Mercedes by themselves haven't added any prompts on the screen or any dedicated buttons for the off-road mode. And third, maybe invest in a good engine oil to reduce wear and keep your engine cool whether you're driving in tough conditions on the road or off it. Maybe you can choose our sponsor, the Gulf Formula SUV, or maybe just ignore all the advice that I have given you. If you can afford it, buy it, and you'll look cool everywhere you go. And even if somebody doubts that if you can take it off-road, you're driving a G-Wagon, nobody's going to question you.